How's it going, everyone? Jiivita here with a how to find X video, this time for Topaz. This was requested by Super Crazy on YouTube, and I guess I actually kind of overlooked or forgot that I hadn't made a video on Topaz yet on how to actually find this stuff. So I think very quickly I'm going to try to go over the bare essentials, or at least what I feel would be the bare essentials. This kind of presumes that you've already have like maybe some workbench power coils, and basically Topaz I would not recommend being your first gem to find. For one thing, for it to be the primary gem of the planet, you have to go to a tier 6 world, which for the time being is the highest level and the hardest to mine on. So I'm going to strongly recommend having a completely decked out mining spec. What I mean by that is having maximum power with the attribute bonus, maximum hammer mastery, the hammer epic, as well as the damage epic down below. That is going to give you as much possible damage from your hammers as you can possibly get from skills alone. Some nice support skills would also be dexterity for increased swing speed and zeal bonus for extra energy, as well as making your food buffs, or actually all buffs, last longer. Control is also kind of nice for having a farther reach, but isn't necessarily necessary. And another quality of life would be the light source epic down below. Again, it's not really necessary. I would highly recommend having the durability drain epic to make your hammers last longer, particularly since I'm going to suggest bringing along some really nice forged hammers to make this really worth your time. And of course, to be able to survive on the shock worlds, you will need some potent protection. This will protect you against shock and chill planets, as well as metal planets, apparently. But yeah, let's move along to the gear portion of this. So the next thing you're going to want to get is a very nice hammer. It doesn't necessarily matter what type of gem it is. A lot of people like to use emeralds. I use diamond for whatever reason. But what's more important is how it is forged. You're going to want the all effect adjacent. That's going to break 9 blocks at a time, and you're going to want as much extra damage on it as possible. If you're unfamiliar, this all effect adjacent will actually reduce the damage by 60%. So if you don't forge extra damage onto it, then it will look something like this, a whopping negative 1,140 damage. This hammer has no extra damage forged onto it, so you want something that's as a little minus damage, or even maybe possibly plus damage. It's a pretty high damage boon to get it to actually say plus damage, so you don't necessarily have to have it saying plus damage, but in the negative 30 to 270 range, that's perfectly acceptable. And certainly what you can do is bring along some Mega Strength Brews. These Mega Strength Brews increase all of your damage by 50% for 10 minutes if you don't have any zeal, and so they can make the difference between having to 2-shot the rock and being able to 1-shot it. So it's very worthwhile to have these along. If you're confident that your hammer and spec can 1-shot the rock, you could also bring some speed brews, which is going to increase your action speed. However, as long as I'm like 1-shotting a rock, I don't really care how fast I can swing my hammer. You can certainly speed it up by quite a bit if you do bring a speed potion. Another thing you're going to want is a persisting pie, or several persisting pies. That's going to again extend the life of your hammer. So these hammers, they're expensive to either craft or just go out and buy, so naturally you want to make those hammers last as long as possible. On top of having persisting pie, you're going to want a bunch of basic food, preferably like cooked prime meat, as that's going to give you quite a bit of energy back without replacing your persisting pie buff. So I just have some cooked meat that'll work for this purpose. I also have some cooked earth yams as kind of a backup. But yeah, let's get down to business. So first off, you're going to want to head towards one of the shock worlds. They just added a brand new shock world, so I'll probably go check that out. It is a tier 6 planet. However, if you don't want to go to a tier 6 world, you could go to Alnatans, which is the tier 5 chill world, and it will have Topaz there. It just won't be as common. The other nice thing about mining on tier 6 planets is that you'll get 3 gems instead of 2 gems per vein, so you essentially get 50% more gems for your time in trouble. So Okay, so I'm over here on the Portal Seeker Shadow Tier Gateway. Right here is Cardass. That was the first shock world that's added. However, there's a new one over here. Should be on this planet. And it'll be... let's see here. Here we go. So Fierce. So Galen, looks like. Galen. And if you're unfamiliar what you're looking for, you can head over to the knowledge tree, and under gems you can see Topaz Scene. This is going to give you some kind of information of where to best find this. So it's best found, of course, on shock worlds ranging from level 5 to 8, and then altitude, they're found up high. Location, they're found under areas of high elevation, and then found under any rock. So basically what that's telling us are mountains. So it has to be under some blocks, so that's the areas of high elevation. Then it's found high up, so about 150 to 140 seems to be about right. However, I think it does depend on how high the mountain is. So whatever the height of the mountain is, you're probably going to want to be at least 30 blocks down before you're going to find any gems. So the height of your mountain is probably going to determine the maximum height of the elevation where you're going to find topaz. So basically we're looking for mountains. This is the first time I've been to this planet, so I'm going to have to basically just kind of explore around, fill out my atlas a little bit, and find a good spot. Naturally, if you already have a rough topaz, perfect, you can put that into your atlas. If you don't have a rough topaz, I would probably strongly recommend maybe going on a hunt until you get one from a meteorite, or just simply go out and buy one. It's going to make your life a lot easier, but you can still find this stuff even without an atlas. Basically, you could go to any mountain and probably find some just fine. But I'm going to explore around and see you in a bit. Okay, so I just discovered my first zone, and I'm kind of impressed because it looks like there's actually a yellow spot over there. So if you're unfamiliar, blue is kind of low density, and as it changes colors from, say, blue to green to yellow to white, that represents areas of higher density for that resource. So that's pretty impressive that I'm seeing a yellow spot over there. It's got to be this mountain right here. And so let's kind of try to explore the zones around this mountain and maybe dig into that one. Okay, so I'm over here. I'm pretty sure that's topaz right over there in the rock, and maybe even some more over there. Since this is a brand new planet, you can find this stuff essentially exposed on sheer cliff faces like this. As time goes on and people mine this stuff out, it'll kind of drive the resources more into the mountains, so it'll be harder and harder to find them like this. However, if you have a brand new planet, then, well, apparently this is quite possible, so let's head over here. So yep, that would be topaz. Very nice. Guess we can go ahead and get some tech devices. And let's see here, that other... let's see here, yeah, I'm pretty sure that's topaz right over there. Ooh. Oh, that's... might not be good. There we go. Somehow managed to survive that. So to give you some frame of reference, the first bit of topaz I found was at altitude 179, so that is pretty high up. I just found some more way down at more of the 130, 140 elevation. So yeah, it has a pretty high spawn range, and it really just kind of depends on the quality of your mountain and how tall it actually is. So very, very nice. So I guess I'll probably go ahead. Yeah, we got some yellow spots, so we'll probably head over to this yellow spot over here and check this out. One thing I did forget to mention is that bringing along a beacon and a little bit of storage would probably be really handy, especially if you have a particularly fast hammer. So I forgot to do that. It was on the to-do list and just overlooked it. Probably also these bombs I probably should have gotten rid of, but yeah. Okay, so I found this pretty awesome spot. I decided to do a little bit of farming and got some crafting tables for some makeshift storage, beacon control, and of course beacon fuel to fuel it. And yeah, I found this mountain and there's some more topaz on the outside. I'm a little bit dumbfounded because I've already found nearly 300 rough topaz just by kind of mining the outside of this mountain. I've been at this maybe an hour and I just kind of keep getting distracted. But yeah, I'm going to kind of dive down into this mountain. We're at elevation 243, so this is one monster of a mountain. As you can see, it's kind of this almost layered, so it might be kind of interesting for mining. We'll just kind of have to wait and see, but I think around 200, because I think I need to be basically 30 blocks underneath the surface minimum. And yeah, I'll just kind of see what happens. Once we get down there, I'll set up a beacon and clean up my mess of an inventory. So, but yeah. Okay, so I'm basically keep running into these ash caves, or at least on my way down. It looks like maybe I'm right on that kind of little blue spot in the middle of all this yellow, so that probably explains why. However, these caves seem to have a decent amount of topaz in the walls of them, so not really a bad thing. But I did set up a little base camp and unloaded my inventory, and I'll go ahead and grab all of these loose topaz, and then I'm actually going to set them aside because I'm not really sure that's going to be a long-term strategy, and then go mining for as long as my persisting pi buff lasts and kind of get back with you all, but until then. Okay, so my persisting pi buff wore out. Looks like it only lasted about 45 minutes, so it looks like maybe it's not getting the full effect from zeal that it should be, because let's see here, is it combat and effect? Yeah, debuff / buff duration modifier 50%, so it lasts 40 minutes by default. So if you got 50% more, that would suggest an hour. So I don't think I stopped. I'll have to review the length of my footage to make sure I didn't like start and stop somewhere in between. But anyway, let's take a look at what we got. I just dumped some rock not too long ago. And so there's 900, there's another 300, so that's 1200. so let's see here. So 1811 rough topaz. I mean, that's ridiculous. Let's see here. That will eventually go together. A little bit of extra convincing. So yeah, that's 1811. Holy cow. That's not even including the tidbits that I found on the way here, which is another 300 and change, if I remember how to get over there. So yeah, I have another 348 that I found just by getting here in the first place. So that's pretty much what? Yeah, that's over 2,000, just over 2,000 gems. That is pretty crazy. Certainly this hammer, not that hammer. Here we go, this one, the one that had an extra 260 damage that was able to one-shot the rock, so I didn't have to use a strength brew. I did try out a strength brew just to see could I like go ahead and one-shot the resources, which wasn't quite enough. I only used about a quarter. I certainly could have brought, let's see here, a speed brew, and that would have sped this up even more. Probably would have mostly used up this hammer, but I would have been able to cover more ground and probably would have gotten, well, by covering more ground I would have gotten more gems, but still, for 45 minutes to get essentially 2,000 gems, or well, 1,800, because I probably spent an hour getting these 348 right here. But yeah, that is pretty darn impressive. So, but anyway, I think that covers how to find topaz pretty decently. It's a pretty easy gem to find, or at least it's a safer gem to find since they're way up in the mountains. You really don't have to worry about much of anything. And particularly I didn't have to deal with a whole bunch of gravel or sand. It's almost entirely rock up here, except for when you run into these caves, you'll pick up a little bit of sand or soil or whatever this stuff is right here. Yeah, sand. So every once in a while I pick up a little bit of sand and I just throw it on the ground so I can pick up more rock. But yeah, I got a crazy amount of rock. Let's see here, filled up. That's 1, 2, and 2.5 at least. Yeah, it looks like 2.5. Oh, so 2.5, so 3, yeah, 3-ish, about 3.25. So yeah, it looks like 3.25 crafting tables, so that's 3 times 8, that's 24 plus, yeah, so that's 24 plus smart stacks of rocks. That's worth quite a bit of amount of experience if you go ahead and mass craft that into stone, especially if you use a teaching pie or some sort of teaching food that will stretch it out even further. So all in all, pretty awesome trip. Oh, and I even have a little bit more stone in my inventory too, so quite nice. So in addition to all that topaz, I did manage to pick up 534 pieces of ore. Unfortunately, most of that is iron, which I guess isn't a bad thing, it's just I'm kind of swimming in iron already, so but I did find a little bit of titanium, apparently 1 piece of gold ore, maybe that came from a meteor or something I came across. Got a whole bunch of salt and a fair amount of tech, so I got 84 tech devices, a whole bunch of tech components, a few remnants. Again, I'm swimming in this stuff, so I don't really care for it, but that is one of the things about mining for topaz. Since it is so high up, you miss out on a lot of those goodies that you would find while mining for either rubies or diamonds, emeralds, of all that titanium, gold, hard coal. Let's see here, I did pick up, yeah, mostly medium coal, a little bit of hard coal, which is kind of surprising that it can spawn this high, but I guess it's more about how much rock is on top of it rather than the actual altitude. And that is another thing that I'm trying to forget to show off, is that you really can't tell that I've done anything to this hotspot. If you're unfamiliar, the Atlas now updates essentially in real time, so as you remove resources, it'll get dimmer and dimmer, but yeah, it is still glowing hot here, so I could easily drop down or maybe even go up a few layers. I'd probably go down deeper rather than higher and just continue mining. So if I wanted to, I could spend pretty much the whole entire day here, at least until I ran out of either hammers or food. Probably run out of hammers first, but yeah, pretty crazy. Or actually, I'd run out of storage, but at any rate, very impressive. So well, anyway, this was Jiivita. Thanks for watching. If you liked this video, be sure to hit that like button, subscribe if you want to see more like this, and if there's anything you didn't like, please let me know down below. Also, if you like my channel, want to get cool perks, check out my Patreon page. Until next time, peace.